Do you want your brand to be competitive in the marketplace? Well, if you're watching this video, I assume that answer is yes, and this video covers a massive piece to that puzzle, and it's all about market sophistication. This term was coined by Eugene Schwartz in his 1966 classic and my favorite book in marketing, Breakthrough Advertising. And it's all about explaining the idea of markets and being in different stages of sophistication, saturation, and competition, and that your messaging needs to be adjusted depending on where the majority of your customers are in this array of market sophistication. So whether you're trying to introduce your product to a new market or you're trying to stand out from the crowd in an existing competitive market, understanding the 5 stages of sophistication is a must-know if you're wanting to have a competitive edge and create compelling advertising for your product or service. So now that you have the context, let's get nerdy. Stage 1 is what we call the early market stage. This is where the product or service is relatively new and the market has never really heard of a product or service like you have. When you're in early stage, your marketing should really be focused on introducing the concept and idea of what your product can actually do to the marketplace. Let's take an example of the iPhone and how Steve Jobs created a brand new market by introducing a new device that would be eventually called the smartphone, which at that time was relatively unheard of and people were used to just having phones that called and did nothing else. But Steve Jobs innovated and basically created a brand new market by creating the iPhone.
Today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things. These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
He had to take what the market already understood in their head of iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. He took those concepts and had to reveal it to the market in a way that they understood before he could then translate that into the new product he was trying to offer, which is the iPhone. Or take examples that they did early on when trying to promote the iPhone.
This is how you turn it on. This is your music. This is your email. This is the web. And this is a call on your iPhone.
In that advertisement, what you notice is that they're not talking about deep mechanisms or in-depth features. They're simply demoing the product because they understand that if they could demo the product in a clear and concise way, the market would already grab onto it. And so when you're in an early stage market, the whole point of your advertisements is to show the concept and illustrate the use and utility to the market itself. You don't have to dive deep into features. You don't have to dive deep into speed. You just need to illustrate the concept so that your market can clearly understand the new opportunity and then latch on to it. Also, can we all just admit the nostalgia that came from that ad? When I watched that ad for the first time, I just instantly had nostalgia and I remember the days of getting the first iPhone. Simpler times, right? All in all, when you're in early stage marketing sophistication, the goal for you is to take what your market currently understands about the world that exists, the other solutions that exist, and then tie them together and illustrate how you've brought a brand new solution that makes their lives better. You don't have to be clever here, you just need to be clear. Stage 2 of sophistication, we dive into what we call the competitive market. This is where competitors start to come to the scene, and now your advertising must stop focusing just on illustrating the concept, but but rather, how do you start focusing on the improvements or what makes your product or service better than the other competitors that exist? Let's take example, the ride-sharing industry that's exploded over the last 5 to 10 years. In the beginning, Uber entered the market into a stage 1 marketing sophistication. They were early stage. There were really no other competitors, and they were an adaptation and innovation from things like taxis or buses. Uber was founded in 2009 and really owned the marketplace until about 2012 when we saw Lyft enter the marketplace and started to transition that marketplace of ride sharing from an app from stage 1 to stage 2. At this point, Uber had to really start innovating and add features that made them better than the competitors. They started adding things like GPS tracking, rider and driver ratings to improve trust and the sense of security, safety checks and background checks on drivers, and emergency assistance, again boosting the confidence of their customers. They also added features and other options like UberX and Uber Black to give their customers more options to choose from, giving the feeling of more autonomy and customization to each customer's experience. Meanwhile, their competitors like Lyft, when it came to their marketing and advertising, they tried to center their entire focus around community. They created ads like this one.
You always have a choice. You can choose to ride with the right people, doing things for the right reasons. You'll always end up in the right place. Or you can choose poorly, end up stranded, buzzards circling, drinking rainwater out of your boot. The promise of a new life, the airport, or all-you-can-eat pancakes, the destination is not what matters. Although Portland's pretty happening right now. It matters how you get there.
Whereas Uber really started to focus on innovation, features, and utility, Lyft tried to copy those features to make them equal to that, and then their advertisements focused on community and relationship and the feeling you get while using the app. So as you can see, when you start to enter stage 2 or a competitive market, you can't just focus on illustrating the concept or the idea to the marketplace. At this point, the marketplace is starting to see multiple options. Therefore, your focus goes from here's what we have to here's why what we have is better than the other competitors. Next is stage 3, or what we call the sophisticated market. This is when the market has started to see all the basic features and benefits that competitors have to offer. And in this stage of sophistication, you really need to start diving much deeper into the full benefits and the deeper benefits that your product has. This is also where you start to see what we call mechanisms being introduced to the marketplace, which is ultimately your proprietary method, science, technology that allows you to provide a better result or solution than other competitors. And these are typically much more advanced and/or even where you start to see patents and trademarks come into the picture. And we'll have another training on this because honestly, this could be a whole hour training just on what a mechanism is and how you can create one for your business. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see that video in the future. Let's take, for example, the evolution of fitness trackers throughout time. As you already know, there are so many different fitness trackers in the market and it's become very mature. You have brands like Fitbit and Garmin and Apple Watch and Whoop bands and Oura rings and all these different devices to help you start tracking your health. If you're trying to advertise one of these products, you can't just talk about the basic features of tracking heartbeat or how many steps you're counting because everything does that. You've got to find a specific feature or a specific solution that this product can provide that others don't do or don't do nearly as well. You can notice these changes through companies like Fitbit, who now really revolve around creating community, or Garmin, who has went all in on quality and having robust GPS features, and now is being used and has specific devices for different sports like triathlons, golf, swimming, and of course running. Their main focus is a really strong emphasis on the durability of their products and going after very serious athletes. Or of course, the Apple Watch, where they've allowed unique mechanisms of seamless integrations with their Apple ecosystem. They've added features like the ECG monitor, fall detection, and even blood oxygen level warnings. They've also allowed customers to customize their experience through the personalization in their apps and having different workout modes that they can choose within their Apple Watch. When you're trying to navigate the sophisticated marketing stage of stage 3, this means going deep or starting to innovate new outcomes and new solutions that your market can experience when they take your business up on their offer. Next is stage 4 sophistication, or what we call the saturated market. By stage 4, your market is already flooded with competitors and competing products. If you're in a stage 4 sophistication, this is where you have to bring the culmination of everything that you have. This means having the best claim. This means having the best features and outcomes. This also means having the right mechanisms. In stage 3, you'll start to see mechanisms introduced into the marketplace. However, stage 4, it starts to become a necessity, because if you don't have something that makes you uniquely different than your competitors, your market won't care and they'll move on. It's important that you don't just focus on what are the cool features that we have, but you must dive deeper into what is the thing that makes you unique against your competitors. In the food industries or supplement industries, you can't just talk about how good it tastes or this is the food type. You have to talk about what are the ingredients that set us apart from others? How do we start sourcing the ingredients versus other companies? How do you know that our product is far more superior, not just based on outcome solution, but how it's actually made? How are you going to get a better experience or outcome with us than anyone else, and how are we the only company that you should choose? You have to have the right claim, you have to have the right features and solutions, but you also have to have the mechanism, and you have to start bringing in the experience. You have to start having affinity. This is where you have to start going beyond just the logical approach. What I mean is that in stages 1 through 3, you can really focus on the logical approach to selling your product. What is the product? Then why is this product better? What unique things about this product allow you to get a better solution or outcome than the other products? These are all logical focused selling. When you enter into stage 4, you have to start pulling emotional based selling. This means realistically, you need to grip them with emotion and then get them to convert through logic. But if you don't have the emotion, you're not going to get their attention because, again, they've heard these claims before. A lot of times when I'm trying to consult a brand, most of them are in stage 4 and they're really struggling to stand out from competitors, or they feel like they've reached a cap in their ability to scale. And this is because they have lacked the ability to create an emotional connection. Therefore, they're starting to sound like everyone else and nothing separates them. This is because we start to neglect the customer experience. And in stage 4 of sophistication, you must not neglect the experience for a customer or the feelings that they get from buying from you if you actually want to stand out and scale your brand. And so it's the culmination of all those things together. This is where we start to see companies like Apple do really well, because they've created a raving fan base that buys their products consistently, because they don't just like the product, they like the company itself. Finally, let's talk about the stage 5 of sophistication, which is the hardest to do, because ultimately this is what we call the highly sophisticated market. This is basically when the market is dead to all claims that you could promote or bring to the marketplace to try to sell them. This is because they've heard all of it. So as a business and a marketer, this is when you need to break the mold and get really outside of the box when it comes to your marketing and how you're positioning your product or service to them. There's a few examples that I really like when it comes to stage 5 of sophistication, and it gets really creative. And the whole point of this is to start tapping into the other motives or emotions that your market might have that they're not already directly connecting with your product or service. Take this ad as an example from Chesterfield way back in the day when selling cigarettes was a massive industry. In the earlier stages of sophistication, you saw brands come out and start introducing their brand of cigarettes. And they started focusing on things like the filter. Was it long? Was it short? Was there no filter? They started focusing on taste, or what are the reactions different people's throats got from smoking. But after a while, these claims started to get burned out and the market didn't really pay attention to any claims about filters or taste that the tobacco companies were pushing on the marketplace. Then Chesterfield came out with this ad illustrating a scene where a man and a woman were sitting together, looking out at the ocean with the moon in the sky, and the man was smoking a cigarette, and the female leaned over and said, "Blow some smoke my way." This ad was pivotal in a stage 5 sophistication because they did what a lot of brands are forced to do nowadays when you're stage 5 sophistication. They introduced sex into the equation. They made smoking sexy inside of this moment. And they also tapped into a relatively controversial view back then around cigarettes, where it wasn't considered appropriate for females to smoke. But in this ad, they illustrated the idea of a female actually being attracted or liking the smell of smoke and being around it. This also eventually opened up a market for females to be accepted as a smoker. In stage 5 sophistication, it's important to think outside of the box and how can we create new opportunities or brand new perspectives to our product or service that our market maybe has never had before. And with one image, Chesterfield introduced smoking as a way to relieve stress or stay focused, but now all of a sudden it was considered sexy to smoke. And you saw brands do this in the future as well, like Marlboro introducing the Marlboro Man.
A dry blanket, hot cup of coffee, a good smoke.
Which became the idea of a man's man and what it looked like to be a man. And it became the mascot for the company. And this is a way of stage 5 sophistication because it's no longer focused directly on the product or the features of the product, but what are the benefits you can get from the product itself? And in this case, what is the benefit of buying that product? You also see this in other brands like Axe body spray, where you see someone who sprays a can of Axe. It's no longer focused on the smell or how it removes odors, but they started doing it to where now anytime someone sprayed an Axe body can spray, you saw a horde of women attack the man. Again, in this situation, they're introducing sex into the equation, and the focus of the marketing is no longer on the product or the benefits of the product, but the benefits of the benefits. Now, if you spray our product on your body, a horde of women will attack you and chase you. This is an example of thinking outside of the box, and again, no longer focused on the direct benefits or features of the product itself, but what are the other emotions that our market might have or desire that we can introduce into the marketing so that they can achieve that other desire by buying our product and our service. All in all, it's really important for you to understand where your market is or your most profitable market is in the stages of sophistication, because ultimately what the stages of sophistication describe is what is your market currently hearing from your competitors. And this is important because if you know what your market is hearing from your competitors, you'll know how to stand out. Oftentimes tell clients or people that are asking me for advice that sometimes you don't have to create the best marketing in the world. You just have to stand out and sound different. And so as soon as you can know what your competitors are forcing down your market's throat when it comes to claims, promises, benefits, or angles, then you know the way to adapt, pivot, and sound different than your competitors, which ultimately gets your market's attention and allows them the opportunity to actually purchase your product or service. There you have it. That's the 5 stages of sophistication. If you loved this content and you want to nerd out more with me on marketing and psychology, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos updated weekly.